Hello again, this is Tony Wright, First Love Christian Church, or FLCC, and AB Wright Ministries. This is the 90-day Bible study. We're on day 19, still in Judges, 15 chapter 13 verse through 1 Samuel, 2nd chapter 29th verse. Okay, now, when we left off yesterday, remember Samson? He was in a pretty foul mood, wasn't he? Remember, they had killed his wife because Samson had burned up the Philistines' crops. Like, killing his wife was going to calm this dude down, right? Not. So then Samson, he went out and killed about 1,000 of these dudes. Now remember, Samson's wife was a Philistine woman. And although his father was of the tribe of Dan. And now his wife is gone and he has been enraged. Now Samson, he is a Nazarite. And I'm wondering, what in the world is Samson going to do now? Well, he went to Gaza. And he went to spend the night with, a prostitute. Is it just me? What in the world? What the heck kind of vow did this dude take? Or anyway, of course, word was out that Samson was there in Gaza. So some of his fans were going to lay in wait to take him out when he left the gates of the city the next morning. But instead, he pulled up stakes at midnight, took the gates, the doors, and everything. Took all up the hill to Hebron. Then Mr. Nazarite set his eyes on another woman from the valley of Sorek. Okay, a valley girl named Delilah. So seems like Mr. Samson's happenings are just an open book. I guess when you have the power of Samson, you don't really care who knows what you're up to, because they can't stop you anyway. Well, the leaders of the Philistines found out that Samson had his eyes on Delilah, and they went to her and told her that if she could find out what makes Samson so powerful, that they would each give her 1,100 pieces of silver. Whoa, game changer. So Miss Delilah, Miss Liar, started working on Mr. Samson to get the info. And check this out. She just straight out asked him, what makes you so strong? And how can you be bound in a way that would hold you? What? What kind of craziness? Samson, don't do it. Who would answer that? I mean, does it make you suspicious? Make me suspicious? And I'm not even the one risking being taken out. Boy. So Samson lied, told her that if he was tied up with 7 green bowstrings that had never been dried, he wouldn't be able to break free. So Miss Liar and her dirt squad tried using that, and it failed. So she went back to him and tried again. This time, he told her that if he was tied up with new ropes that had never been used, yeah, right, that he would not be able to break free. Yep, they tried that. Nope, didn't work. Well, Miss Liar started getting desperate. And it looked like Mr. Samson is just playing games. Oh, my goodness. So then he told her that if she weaved the locks of his hair on a loom, that he would be powerless. So she tried that too. And just like every other time, when she told him that the Philistines were coming, he just got up without even a hint of hesitation. So now, she's really not feeling him too much. And told him that she didn't believe that he really loved her because he kept lying to her. Okay, here we go. Brother Samson, he poured out his heart and all his secrets. Well, next thing you know, Mr. Samson is asleep on Miss Liar's lap with all the money that she's been paid to set this dude up. Boy. So some cat comes out, cuts his hair off. Next thing you know, they blinded Samson and throwed his hind in prison. Well, I know you read about his payback to the Philistines. He killed over 3,000 that last act of power. And they buried him in the same place as his father Manoah. But you know what I want to know, right? I want to know what happened to Miss Lion Delilah. Where did she go? I don't think I would have been good just bringing down the house. And Miss Tell Me the Truth is just running around spending money and everything. I'm just saying. But anyway, oh my goodness. While I'm thinking about it, listen, when you read this last portion of Judges, did you find yourself asking, like, what in the world? Man, this stuff right here, you know what I mean? Talk about raising some eyebrows. Dude, whoo-wee. Okay, I just thought I'd add this second part of Judges, though. Anyway, it went on to talk about this guy named Micah. And no, this is not the prophet Micah. But I'm sure you figured that one out real quick, right away. When you see where he's returning some money, silver, that he stole from his mother. And she was saving it up so she could have it melted down and molded into a graven image. No way. Come on, dude. Yep, an idol. And this stuff was placed in Micah's house. Now, Micah had all these idol gods, and he had, priestly garments there as well. Did you see that? An ephod? And he had teraphim. Remember Rachel, when she left the home of her father, Laban, with Jacob, slick? That's what she stole from Laban, teraphim, before he chased him down and searched for him while she was sitting on the chest to hide him. Anyway, this dude, Micah, was one confused dude. He had all this stuff. Then he made one of his sons a priest. And did you notice how, especially in this section of Judges, it kept reminding you that in those days there was no king in Israel and every man did that which was right in their own eyes? Oh my goodness. That would get you messed up real good. Just do what you think is right. Help me, somebody. So then, anyway, along comes a guy from the family of Judah who was a Levite, and Micah hires him to be his priest. Then some dudes from the tribe of Dan are looking for a place to set up for their inheritance, and they sent out this 5-man search team. And so they just happened by Micah's place, and they spoke to the priest, for some guidance before continuing on, if they were on the right track to find a good place and everything. And he said, yeah, they on the right path, just keep going. So on their way back, though, on the way back through, they came by again, and this time they took the idols, and they took the priestly garments, and they took the priests with them. Now Micah, he chased them down, but then he decided that he couldn't defeat the whole group, so he just went back home. What? What in the world? Did you read that? All that mess that this joker went through so that he could give it all, give all that stuff to some descendants of Dan? Are you kidding me? I guess for him, though, it was like easy come, easy go. If this ain't some kind of crazy, you hear me? Then there was a story about the Levite that had married an unfaithful woman from Bethlehem. And this woman had gone back home she had been back about 4 months. So the Levite went to talk to her, and make straight and take her back to his home. So he went there, and the woman's father, though, was happy to see him, actually, and everything. And the Levite ended up staying with him for like 3 days, having a happy time, eating and drinking and everything. Then when he was ready to leave, early on the 4th day, Pop says, have a little something to eat before you get on the road. So he did. Then the old man tells him, well, you may as well stay the night now and leave in the morning. So he did. Then the next day, Pops plays the same old notes again. This time, though, eventually the Levite said he had to be on his way. He ate the breakfast, but look, noontime came around, afternoon, he was on his way. But it got dark by the time he got to the land of the Benjamites. So he's near a place called Gibeah. And an old man took them in so that they wouldn't have to stay in the streets. So while they're inside, some dudes come along knocking on the door. And they tell the old man that he needs to send this man out, the Levite, send him out so they can get busy with the Levite man. What? Is this some kind of crazy or what? Yeah. So the old man tries to send these dudes his daughter and the Levite's wife, but they weren't interested in them. They weren't interested in that at all. What in the world? So the Levite just put his wife out of the door. And these cats abused her overnight and left her at the door the next morning. So when the Levite got back home, he, took his wife on up, took her back home. When he got there, he divided her into 12 pieces and sent a piece of her to each tribe. What kind of craziness is happening with the tribe of Benjamin? So, boy, ain't that the truth. Look, straight craziness. Let's fast forward a little bit. Look. So the other tribes went up against the Benjamites. Because they were saying, this is just too crazy. Now, they took a couple of L's, but they finally took the Benjamites down. Then they kind of brought the remaining Benjamites back into the fold. There were some Benjamites that had hid out in the hills. So, they didn't want one of their tribes to be left out of the promise. So, they made up and they made things work some. Boy, if this day here doesn't have some stuff going on in this reading, right here, you know what I mean? Boy, then we got to the story of Ruth, into the book of Ruth, who was married to a son of Elimelech, who himself was married to Naomi. But Ruth and her husband had lived there for about 10 years after Elimelech had died. And then her husband died, and her husband's brother died also. So there was only, Naomi, who was widowed and now had, no son alive either. And she decided she was going to go back to her homeland. And her daughters-in-law were free to go their way. So Naomi told them to go back to their homes. In fact, Ruth was a Moabite right there. But Orpah, after some urging, she went. But Ruth was determined she was going to stay with Naomi, period. She was not going to leave her. She told Naomi that she would go where she goes, that Naomi's home would be her home, and that Naomi's God would be her God. So they returned to Judah, which was Naomi's home, and they got back during the time of the barley harvest. So Ruth went out to glean some corn in the field, after they were harvested. Remember the laws of harvest? They got to leave some in the field. They clear it out, don't totally clear it out. They leave some for the hungry and for the poor. So anyway, she ends up in a field that belonged to a relative of her father-in-law. And the relative was Boaz. Well, Boaz saw Ruth too, and he asked his servants about her. Well, we know how this story goes. And there were just a few things, though, that Boaz needed to work out. Like there was a relative that was closer kin to Elimelech than Boaz was. So Boaz had to see first if this other relative wanted to redeem the property of Elimelech. And at first the relative said, yeah, I want to redeem, the land. But then when he was told, in addition to redeeming the land, he would have to take Ruth as a wife also so that he could continue Elimelech's name. His name wouldn't die out, right? Deal breaker. The relative said he didn't want to dilute his inheritance by marrying Ruth. So Boaz was free to marry Ruth. And Ruth and Boaz, they married. And then they had a son. And the son's name was Obed. And as it turns out, Obed would be the father of Jesse and the grandfather of David. Man, this stuff is moving on, isn't it? Boy, we're in Samuel. And you just knew that Samuel was going to be special, didn't you? Now, his father, Elkanah, had two wives. One wife was named Peninnah, and the other wife was named Hannah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah, she had gone barren for years. Now, they went to Shiloh every year for worship and sacrifice. And the priest in Shiloh, his name was Eli. And Eli had two sons. Now, one year when they had gone to Shiloh, though, Hannah was praying to God because she was really taking a beat down for not having any children. And she was praying that God would bless her with a son. So she vowed to God that if he gave her a son, that she would give that son back to God for all the days of that child's life. Now, Eli thought that this woman had been drinking. He looked over there and just saw her there with her lips moving and everything. No words were coming out. But she explained that she wasn't drunk. She hadn't been drinking. She wasn't drunk on wine or anything. She was just praying, petitioning God for a blessing. So Eli told her, go your way, woman. But he told her that God would grant her request. And sure enough, she gave birth to a child, son, Samuel. Named him Samuel. Now, Samuel spent time ministering every year when they would visit Shiloh. He stayed there with Eli, ministering before God in the presence of Eli, even as a small child. And him and Eli grew closer, and Samuel grew closer with God, and even those that were around him, right? Now, Eli's sons, though, they were some evil dudes. And Eli had to rebuke them about their behavior. But they didn't care. Now, Eli warned them that what they were doing was transgressing against God, and it would not go unchecked. So God actually sent a man to Eli to warn him that God was going to hold him accountable because he was not holding his sons accountable. And this man said that Eli was placing his own sons above God. That would be a problem. Hey, speaking of problems, you know we got to get up out of here. But you keep up the reading, keep reading this word, and you keep checking us out on your favorite social media platform. And hey, you know what to do. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. FLCC, we're on the move, brothers and sisters. We're taking ministry back to the first love. Peace.